Sorry, guys. I was just going on Sesame Street thing for a second. So, first and foremost, let me apologize for my attire. As you can see, it looks like a person that just worked out the gym. So, as I sat down and contemplating tonight, I couldn't help but just want to sit there and just get this rant out. So let's just call it the Wednesday rant. Usually I leave these things for, of course, the Oliver's podcast, which I usually do every Saturday from 3 to 5, and also How the Frack We Got Here, which is also on Sundays, which I try to do Sunday nights. But with all the shit that's going on, I think we can all say collectively that we need a break from this ride called life. I mean, it's barely Wednesday. And I feel like America has become this big ass reality show in which every day has to outdo yesterday. And honestly, I hate to go back to this because I know some people are probably tired of this, which you shouldn't be tired of, which is actually what I wanted to talk about a little bit today, because Agent Orange has surprised. That's right, you racist bigots. Your Lord and Savior, Agent Orange, has came in and said, no more. We will no longer separate the children. The children should be with their parents, even if they're illegal. Why? Because I want my daughter Ivanka to still love me. You want your daughters. Yeah, here's the one thing that kills me about Agent Orange, because nothing is done out of goodwill from him. You understand that, right? So the simple fact of the matter is, his daughter literally influences his opinions and decisions. Keep in mind, go back to every decision Agent Orange has made. Agent Orange, whenever he does something, doesn't do it unless his daughter's admiration is on him. So what's interesting now, because today he did sign an executive order to undo what he has done. Let me for those that just didn't understand what I just said, Agent Orange just signed an executive order to keep families, including immigrants, together, because that was something his administration ordered to do from Jump Street. That's kind of like saying, I'm going to tell banks to rob people, continue to rob people, and then I'm going to do an executive order that says, wait, who told these banks to rob people? I'm going to put a stop to it right now. You did. So it's interesting now where if you hear him talk, and this is the part, honestly, that bugs me the most, and he literally goes, families should not be separated. The Department of Homeland Security, Kristen, let's just call her that bitch. So that bitch decided to turn around and say, we don't believe families should be separated. You are the ones who are doing it. You are the ones who are literally ordering these ICE and Department of Homeland Security folks to literally detain and remove children. And now, from the last count that was out there, there's like over 2,200 children who are now displaced. And exactly how are they going to be reunited to their families? Because you have like newborns up until kids about 14, 15, 16 years old. And they have been put in these detention, let's call them what they are. They have been put in concentration camps. I mean, and it's funny that they argue about what a concentration camp is. I know, watching Fox News melts your brain, rots your brain cells, makes you literally wonder, how does a network like this is able to function and spew so much hatred and still call themselves fair and balanced? That alone is amazing to me. Is how can a news station that calls themselves a news station, that acts like a news station, can call themselves fair and balanced, and yet give bullshit and call it news and call it fair and say it's honest and it's backed up. And you have these crazy other people that come on and give bullshit. For example, they argued that concentration camps, well, they're not really concentration camps because concentration camps have chain link fences. I had to stop myself. Your definition is only hindered by what's outside the actual building. Let me get it straight. You realize that that branches of our government have just been in the biggest child abduction ring this side of the United Nations. I mean, there are dictators in other countries going, they did that? No one killed anybody? I mean, you literally got Boko Haram over the other side just going, and they called me the bad guy? I mean, granted, I'm doing this because I believe in my religion, but they call me the bad guy? And yet, these idiots on this side of the field can do that? So, again, I myself cannot understand how Agent Orange can sit there and, for lack of better words, try to defend the policy and pretend like he didn't do it. Because here's the thing, and I'm sorry for my nose. My nose is itching like crazy, so I apologize for that. But here's the thing. I've said this before in my Facebook post. I have yet to find anybody to bring up a law that says exactly what they have done up until this executive order was signed. That simple fact of the matter is, there's not a law that says that we separate families of legal immigrants. We don't. Never have. We never had a law in there. Now, has history shown that we've done that? Yes. We did it during slavery. We did it during Native Americans when pretty much they were being exterminated. I mean, there's points in history where it points out where families were separated because a superior race thought it was better for them. And this is no exception. So the whole thing about Fox News is literally trying to make it to the point to where, well, it's not a concentration camp, it's summer camp. Okay. So here's the thing what goes back to Trump, and I made this joke, and I don't feel bad about saying this joke. I said the only reason why Trump turned down did it, and why Trump turned around and actually signed an actual executive order was basically because his wife, if memory serves me right, her immigration status is still a question. We don't know if she's a naturalized citizen. We don't know if she's on a visa. All we know is that she was a mail-order bride to a sugar daddy and fucked up and got pregnant. Happens to the best of us, sister. And yet somehow, and all you wanted was a sugar daddy, and now you're the first lady. You're the first hostage of the United States. I can't even call her a first lady. She's a first hostage. But she would still fit exactly what ICE was what the modern day Gestapo was trying to do. I'm just saying it'd be real awkward at the White House for ICE to show up and take whatever the child's name is away from Melania as she has to be deported, and he goes to a detention center. Amazing how it all turns around when you can turn around and sit there and see that, yes, if Trump really did follow to his word, Melania would be deported right now. Her parents, also legal immigrants, would be deported right now. So that just goes to show you that, for the simple fact of the matter, it's all bullshit. Like him saying that the Democrats have done this. Democrats have nothing to do with this. Keep in mind, you have a Republican-controlled Congress, which means that they can get away with almost anything they want to get away with right now. They can. I mean, real shit. They can actually turn around and get away with anything they want. So that's the bullshit of it all. When Republicans want to sit there and blame Democrats, you can't blame Democrats for shit because you own the House. You own the House. You have a controlled Supreme Court justice. You have the presidency. You honestly have as close to a Nazi Reich as you're going to get without the killing. So, with that being said, the simple fact of the matter is that you're blaming Democrats makes no sense to me. Because Anybody else who actually has a pulse and actually can use Google can automatically see that the people you should be blaming are the same people that are setting this up, i.e. you. So Trump, I should say Agent Orange, I just don't get how you can sit there and say that, well, we're the Democrats come to the table. No, you want your wall. I said, I have never seen a guy so hard on for a wall to the point to where he's trying to make it a statement, which is funny because people who want walls are so prehistoric since planes have been invented. I mean, El Chapo got out under a tunnel twice. Twice this man has escaped the prison with walls, mind you, under tunnels. So Trump, if you think for 1 second with you and your walls, you don't think there's going to be some way, because last time I checked, illegal immigrants are flying now and walking right across our border. But that's where it goes into the whole thing of fear and paranoia, because immigrants do make up our economy. They make up a big part of our economy. They actually do the jobs that no one else wants to do, and they've made their living off of it. And yet here we are worried about people doing the jobs that we don't want to do, but yet when you send them all off, I always ask this question: are you going to do the jobs that they left? Because I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen a colonizer out in the field since a dude that used to be a slave was chasing him down like Django. So again, why are we harping on a group of, why are we harping on people? Because last time I checked, this is a nation of immigrants. I mean, except for Native Americans, and I'm sorry, they got a bad, no matter how you cut the mustard, they got a bad deal. And I think that's fucked up. But the simple fact of the matter is that everybody wants to say, every time you see a Trump supporter hat again, they always want to go, make America great again. Let's call it what you want to say. Make America white again. Not right, white. Which is what a lot of people would like to say, but they're afraid of what they'll be seen as. Because my whole thing is, ever since I started doing podcasts, ever since I started really talking to people, I have accepted two things in life. That whatever I say may be truthful, and may be truthful and I back it up. But most importantly, let me not be afraid to say it, because I am ready to defend it. And the one thing you'll notice about Trump supporters, they never are ready to defend their president. They can't. You can't explain why in the world that we left the G7 summit. You can't explain why we left the Paris Accords. You cannot explain the tariff war that is pretty much killing our stock market, 401k and housing markets, and it's pretty much raising the cost of everything from gas to groceries to clothes to everything else that is being imported into the U.S. because we're getting it from other countries. But since we're putting tariffs on our products, they're putting tariffs on their products, which raises the cost of everything. And yay, capitalism, we're all paying more. But at the same time, you don't want to defend your president. You don't want to defend the president. Like I said, Trump drones is what I call them, never want to defend the president because they hate facts. They hate numbers. They hate reality. But they love a guy who sits there and says and does things that he can get away with and has yet to face consequences. That's why you have these people out here at Starbucks and at grocery stores and at various other places, literally calling out minorities and being bold about it. Because last time I used to say, when you come across a group of minorities, there was a pretty good chance you were going to get your ass kicked. And now it's like they speak from a certain place of safety because they believe that their president can do that. And I've seen it on T-shirts, and I've said it many times, don't let your president get your ass whooped. So, with that also being said, though, again, going back to the fact that they can't defend the president, because the laundry list of everything, repealing the Dodd-Frank Act, which now sets us up for another recession, killing the housing market because that's going to take another crash again. You literally set it up to where Wall Street can play with house money, and you sat there and let business mergers happen that are now creating monopolies that are now illegal. If you are a corporation right now, it is Christmas for you. For half the shit you can get away with. especially if you're AT&T and Time Warner, because that's going to lead to acquisitions across the board, which is going to lead to less choices, which leads to higher prices. But again, all of this is possible, simply put, because we have a Agent Orange and the presidential seat that has nothing better to do than to turn around and line his and his family's pockets. And at the same time, make America the butthurt joke of the world. Because the simple fact of the matter is, we just have a guy there that literally and figuratively will not do anything, will not listen to anyone unless his daughter tells him. And I'm sorry, you can say what you will, the guy wants to really fuck his daughter. I'm like, at this point, I'm not sure how much more evident that is, except for every time he's done a decision, she's always had to go over there and almost like a whispering muse tell him what to do. This is not a man that actually makes decisions on his own. He always wants to please his daughter, and that is some sick shit. So call me wrong about that, but I can't help but sit there and say it and be honest about that. For the simple fact of the matter is, this man does not do anything unless it's distraction from normal problems, unless it's lining up his own pockets, or he's simply reiterating what got him there in the first place, which is feeding bigots fears and making xenophobics feel perfectly comfortable, because that's all it is. And it's sad because everybody keeps saying, why don't we vote him out? Why don't we vote him out? The truth is, Republicans at any time could file articles of impeachment. All it takes is a good majority of the Senate and majority of the House to move forward, and then it moves over to an investigation to whether or not the Attorney General could move forward to basically impeach him. Now, again, I understand a lot of people know about Mueller, and this is also another thing. Mueller is there to investigate whether or not Russia has interfered with the election. A lot of people get that misconstrued with that he's investigating Trump. Now, when I say he's investigating Russia's involvement with the previous election, that's a broad spectrum, which means that, yes, he could still get Trump. But keep in mind, it took them almost 2 years to get Nixon at Watergate. And Nixon thought he was safe. And I'm like, and the thing about it is where I usually tell people, I'm not saying don't depend on this as it's supposed to happen, because I usually follow the Simpsons around, because the Simpsons haven't been wrong in their predictions so far. I mean, they predicted Trump would be president. They also predicted he wouldn't make it past his first term. So if it makes it feel any better, there's not going to be a sequel. And I don't mean to wish death upon anybody, but they killed him off in a cartoon. I'm not calling the Simpsons the Illuminati. I'm just saying. But I think it's honestly at this point where I usually tell people, I said, if you are not conscious, if you're just simply not aware right now of what's going on and how honestly woke the fuck up you should be. This is nice. I mean, if you've read any of George Orwell's books, 1984 is truly happening. They're telling you to disavow everything that you hear except what they tell you. They're telling you to disavow what you see, because they say you can't believe your eyes, but you can believe them. When they start telling you to ignore the blatant truth that's in front of you, that's when you know you're in a fascist organization and a fascist government that's trying to improve its will on people by simply telling them to believe everything but only believe what they tell them, and everything else is false news. Tell me where you've heard that before. So that's where honestly it's just like where I was at today. I mean, going back to, like I said, the simple fact of the matter is that he signed an executive order. I'm going to be honest, it doesn't mean that's going to be enacted. It's going to be enacted very quickly. I mean, because executive orders usually have to go through Congress. And right now, I have yet to see one Republican, whether senator or representative, simply come out and say, this is bullshit. I mean, they may condemn it, but like I said, come election time, it's going to be interesting to see how many people will remember this? Because I'm sorry, because I'm stuck with Diane Black and Marsha Blackburn in Tennessee. And honestly, fuck both those women. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Fuck Diane Black, fuck Marsha Blackburn, because they are literally two of the Agent Orange cheerleading bitches that we don't need in Tennessee. I cannot stress that anymore. They are not for Tennessee. They are for themselves. They are pro-business. They are pro-right to work. They do not care about lowering taxes. Matter of fact, they could raise taxes if they wanted to. They are no different than Bob Corker. And that man is pretty much Mitt Romney light. The way he flops back and forth. Dude, are you a Democrat or you're a Republican? You're a Democrat or you're a Republican. Make up your fucking mind. At the same time, honestly, you should really look at the Republicans and senators of your states, because keep in mind that this time in history, we're going to remember this. We're going to remember that our government literally for up until Agent Orange taken over, has become exactly the Al-Qaeda, has become exactly the ISIS, has become exactly every terrorist organization that they know. They have become it because they became child abductors. And honestly, it is my sincere wish that once this horrible administration is over, whether by impeachment, whether by just overall civil disobedience, whether or not one day he just wakes up and quits, it is my sincere hope that every one of his cabinet, every one of his administration is literally gets prosecuted by the international court for honestly crimes against humanity. I hope it's like Bush. I'll be honest. That's why Bush doesn't leave the country. Bush Jr., if he left the country right now and wound up anywhere near the international court, he will be tried for war crimes. Him and Cheney, if they left. They will never leave the States. Not anywhere near to where people can snatch and grab them. So Trump, in his case, whether or not he makes it to the next term, or he gets the next term, or he gets impeached, or he quits, he better not go anywhere outside the States. Because I can tell you off the bat, there will be plenty of countries that'll want him tried. Just like they want Saddam Hussein, just like they want Osama bin Laden. He will be no different than exceptions for the things that happened under his watch, and everybody else who follows suit in his administration. Because in my mind, the only guy that actually had sense was the guy in the detention center that they ordered to keep these kids. He refused to do it, and he quit his job. Think about that. A guy who worked at one of these centers quit his job because he sat there and knew this was wrong. Whereas you have other people who have these jobs now who have no problem still doing it because they were ordered to. That's fucking scary. But as far as that goes, also the other thing I was going to talk about, because it's Trump, how the fuck do we have a Space Force? Literally. I for one, I love NASA. I'm a big fan of space and science fiction and whatnot. It's the geek side of me. I love those things. So it's weird to hear Trump turn around and sit there and say, we want a Space Force because we need dominance over outer space. And in my mind, I know you guys, the internet is undefeated. I mean, immediately the Starship Trooper memes and Spaceballs and everything else that you can think of space related came out. And honestly, this is why I say the internet's defeated. But at the same time, this is also why I'm scared. Because nobody wants to sign up for this man's army. Who's going to sign up for the Space Force? At the same time, as much as I hope that there's extraterrestrial life out there, do we really want to go out there picking a fight? I'm just saying, we don't know what's beyond Mars. Although every game I've played that involves Doom has told me nothing on Mars is good. I'm like, nothing on Mars is good. Nothing on the moon is good. I'm afraid to even go looking around Uranus. Sorry. But It's just think about it. It's like Space Force. I'm like, why don't we ever get back to space exploration? Why can't we get back to solar, wind, and water technologies? Because other countries out there are outdoing us, but we're worried about being the first ones to have a space force. It's almost to the point to where you just want to go, I don't even want to live on this planet anymore, more especially with this fool running the show. So I just don't get the whole Space Force thing. I mean, my thing is he's too busy. It's like I was speaking about with friends. At first, I used to say Trump's sole mission was to basically come in and undo everything Barack Obama did. Anything that the black guy did that he was successful, it kind of felt like it was Agent Orange's job to go back in and dismantle it and say he's done good work, which is obviously not true. Because I have yet, and I say this to all you Trump drones out there, please, oh please, tell me one thing Trump did right that didn't benefit him, that he didn't brag about, at the same time benefit the American public as a whole. Please, if you can find that, then maybe there's a little bit of hope. But if anybody else is paying attention, we are truly fucked until this man is gone. And like I said, now it's my thing is where people sit there and go, they always love to turn around and say, well, it was because Obama started all this. Let me tell you this as an Obama supporter. The man faced an opposing Congress, an opposing Senate. He faced opposition from every bill he tried to get passed, and yet he still accomplished it. Meanwhile, Trump is pretty much saying, I'm going to do this, and it gets done. So that goes to show you exactly the Republican folks that we have. It goes to show you exactly where our Congress is, and all the more reason why people need to be involved or get to know the process or get to know what's going on out there. Because if you don't, history will repeat itself. And like I always said, I wish dictators were a breed that can die off. But like in one of my favorite Marvel movies, the guy had turned around and told the villain, there will always be men like you, as long as there are men that won't stand up against you. So I'm going to leave it here as far as the rant goes. It's just something that, like I said, I think honestly we all need a break from this ride called life. But until we actually get it done, not to coin a phrase, but honestly, stay woke, stay informed, be active, do the research, and always don't believe everything you hear on the first shot. I mean, you don't got to take my word for it and not sound like LeVar Burton, but honestly, read. Be informed. The more informed society is, the better the choices it can make, and never actually feel like you can depend, like you can literally don't need to, or you feel like you don't need to depend on somebody. Because that's the reason how we got to the society where we is now. Because honestly, we let Sarah Palin in through the gate. She broke the gate that Donald Trump just walks through. And I mean, that just goes to show you every action eventually leads to an opposite and equal reaction. So, gonna leave it there, guys, as far as that. And also, I know I mentioned this before I actually end this rant. So the Off Limits podcast for this Saturday will actually be, which may actually annoy some people, but that's okay because, like I said, all these Off Limits podcasts are open and honest conversations. But like I said, we're not honestly in the business of putting down people. We are honestly trying to build people up, or we're trying to inform. So this week's podcast topic will basically be trapped in the friend zone no longer. You know, when we stop wasting time with people with different intentions. So it is going to be an interesting podcast. And like I said, it's going to be one of those things that you can join into as it broadcasts on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So like I said, it doesn't have to be one side. It doesn't have to be listen to me. If you want to sit there and have a conversation, we're going to, but I recommend that you do. But we're going to end this Wednesday rant here. This has been fun. And like I said, if you guys like it, cool. If not, let me know. I start making this a weekly thing that we can get to, just something that gets us through the week. But beyond that, that's all I got. So hope you guys have a good night. Peace.